Welcome to Wisconsin Weather Experts right here on Fox Local and, of course, the Fox 6 YouTube channel. We have a jam-packed show today. Lots of things going on. We're going to look to the future, as is kind of our biz. We're also going to look to the past a little bit. We'll get the scoop on, how things played out in April. And sometimes knowing where you came from helps you know where you're going. And it's just a reminder, too, that spring is spring,
yes.
Right? We in Wisconsin know we can get just about anything. And if you missed the snow, you can go visit your friends in Colorado. We got some great snow pictures there, actually, from one of our associates at the Fox Network there. Britta Merwin, the producer there, sent this. She said, "My mom got snow," and she wanted to share it with everybody. This is up in Woodland Park, Colorado. Now, to be fair, they're at an elevation of about 8,400 feet, so they are definitely a little bit higher up, and quite the pile, very picturesque. But yes, it is still May there the same way it's May
They like
here.
The snow, right?
Well, it's Colorado. I mean, if you didn't like snow, you probably wouldn't move that far up the mountains in Colorado, right? So very pretty pictures, had to share. Back here at home, we're snow-free at this point.
We are snow-free, but we're dealing with something a little different. Maybe a little mountain-esque landscape, but not in a good way is probably the best way to put this. Unfortunately, we are taking a look
at that.
I know, Benton Harbor, Michigan.
Beautiful little town. I've been there a few times.
It's gorgeous. It's on my list to go to, but that house so close to the edge of that cliff, not great. There's a lot of eroding with the cliffs there, and this has taken years. However, engineers are saying that the erosion has really accelerated over the past several years due to strong winds creating monstrous waves.
We've seen a lot more in the way of strong winds this spring, and even this winter too.
Well, and actually, it's a good point, Rob, because while we've been dealing with a lot of strong winds, that's actually eroded even the coastline here in Lake Michigan. So Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, also Superior, all dealing with this acceleration of erosion, and that's caused a big problem. So some of these areas are now under high-risk erosion areas is what they're calling them,
that house,
where
right at the edge.
a foot or more of land is disappearing every year. So state governments have increased the requirements for new construction. I mean, I just can't imagine having your house there and one day it's potentially going to be gone. I mean,
and these probably are not, $100,000 homes. They're usually pretty expensive with that kind of a view, right? And then you're losing a foot of your backyard every year. Got to be a very scary feeling for sure. Now, we have similar scenes like that. You go along the North Shore, particularly through Mequon, Whitefish Bay, and then farther up through Port Washington. There's been quite a bit of erosion there as well. And, the problem is that you really can't do much.
You can't. Carthage College, in fact, in Kenosha,
it's a great example,
they just redid a whole bunch of rocks along the lakefront to prevent that erosion. They have something called Kissing Rock there, which was initially from Carthage, Illinois, when the college was in Illinois before moving to Wisconsin. And they've had to move that rock further inland. I think back in 2016. So this has been an issue for years.
The shore just keeps creeping up. So it's something to watch for sure, and it ties back into the high wind that we have been seeing for the last little while. We're just 7 days into the new month of May. We've got wind, we've had a lot of ups and downs, and of course, coming up in a few minutes, we're going to look ahead with our big picture. But to know where we're going, we sometimes need to know where we have been. So Chief Meteorologist Tom Walks is going to take a look back at April.
Well, I've heard from a lot of people saying, boy, April was really a chilly month across the Milwaukee area. So I wanted to take a closer look at the statistics. And we're going to take a look here at the average temperature for the months of April. What does that mean? That's where we take the high temperatures and the low temperatures for the month and average them together. So that's how we get the average temperatures here. And you'll notice April of 2025 was just over 45 degrees for an average temperature, which puts it at about 1 degree below average. Now, in 2024, we were well above average temperature-wise in April at over 3 degrees above average. 2023, more of the same with above average temperatures. Then we dropped to below average in 2022. 2021 of April was above average at 2.6 degrees. So you weren't imagining it. Yes, we were below average here in terms of temperature in 2025. But let's dig deeper into this here. Where did we stand in terms of the numbers of 60 degree or greater high temperature days? We'll take a look at this. Pretty interesting. 7 days of 60 plus in Milwaukee. The average number of 60-degree days is 8. So we were below average there, but look at this. Now we go back to 2024, 2023, and 2021, where we had 14 days at or above 60 degrees in the month of April. In fact, 14 days is tied for the 8th most number of days of 60-degree or higher temperatures in the month of April. So we were pretty warm. 2024, 2023, and 2021. We saw half of that in 2025. So that really goes to show how much cooler we were this April versus last April in Milwaukee. Now I want to show you the number of days with an easterly wind. We know why that matters, right, in the Milwaukee area, because the more winds we have coming in out of the east, northeast, or southeast, well, that brings in the chilly lake air, right? Now take a look at this. 2025, we had 13 days of the month with the wind primarily out of an easterly direction, only 9 days in 2024, and then a slew of 10 days from 2023, 2022, and 2021. So that also plays a role, not entirely. We could have cloudy and rainy days, which will lead to cooler than average temperatures, right? But those easterly winds often play a role, and well, we had more days with easterly winds in 2025 than we have here in recent years past. So the bottom line is this. Yes, it was a cooler than average April, and well, only 7 days with 60-degree or higher temperatures.
So it's interesting because sometimes, the data doesn't always back up what the human body feels. Like sometimes it's just your take on April.
Yes.
Like you just happen to have something planned the days that it was windy and cold. But yes, it turned out it was a windy and kind of chilly April for everybody.
It was. But, overall, our snowfall was not really high
That's
on the
true.
end. So we had the cold. Would you have the cold or the snow? I guess.
Yeah. And I've had more comments, to be honest, about people talking about how much windier it has been of late. And that may well be a thing, as we've learned from, climate change with what they call a greedier atmosphere that wants to have, more moisture in it. You get stronger, higher, and low pressure systems, and the stronger the highs and the lows, the more the air flows from one to the other. So we may be in for some windier futures as well. Let's not go quite that far into the future, but we are going to take a look at our big picture now.
Yeah, big picture, winds still going to be impactful in some areas, as well as here locally. We're going to talk about the winds impacting lakeshore areas in just a little bit. Well, we've been tracking snow across portions of the Rockies. The big story has been that omega blocking pattern, which is just now starting to break up a little bit. We're still going to have to watch areas, though, dealing with rain and storms where those lingering lows are. One of the locations is going to be in the south, near portions of Mississippi as well as Louisiana, while the second we're still tracking in areas of New England. So as we take a look, though, these areas have been impacted very heavily with rainfall accumulations stretching 1 inch to just over 3 inches from southern Oklahoma into Texas. And this prompted a widespread area of flood warnings and advisories. Notice as we move further south near the Gulf Coast, we have even more rain, 2 to over 4 inches in portions of Louisiana as well as Mississippi. And then heading up to New England, we're seeing another stretch of 1 to 3 inches. So it's really been these same areas that have been hard hit with rain continuing day on and day off and cloudy conditions. Now, what we're tracking right now is while we are still focusing in on New England, parts of New York are getting a brief break. Most of the activity for the north is going to be scattered and light in nature, so not looking to have as big of a flooding concern up there, but we are still going to have to keep our eyes on the flooding threat near the Gulf. Especially notice southern portions of Louisiana, even heading into Mississippi and Alabama, still under those flood headlines, and not only dealing with flood headlines right now, but they're currently having widespread showers and even thunderstorms moving through these zones that are continuing to accumulate rain as we speak. Now, keep in mind, this area saw 2 to 4 inches of rain, and they are under a moderate risk for heavy rainfall leading to flooding today. Well, we've also included a zone for marginal flooding possible from Wichita, Kansas, heading over to Tennessee on the eastern half of that. As we look at the severe weather outlook, well, it is very limited. We are still going to have the chance of portions of Oklahoma heading into Arkansas and Missouri, which could be dealing with some hail, as well as a small chance for some thunderstorms near Florida. But the big threat still with these lingering systems is going to be more focused on the rain and flooding. Back here locally in Wisconsin, we have a different scenario. It is calm. However, the big change from the past several days where we had warmer temperatures is the cool temps are here to stay across the state for the next couple days. A cold front has been pushing south this morning, and with that front, while we have seen an increase of some clouds here or there, it really has brought in some cooler temperatures with an increase of winds. While we're 62 in Milwaukee, take a look down south, 70s in St. Louis as well as Chicago. We're dealing with a middle portion of the country under above average temperatures, while we're dealing with cooler than average temperatures in the southwest and still hanging on to some of the warmth in the 80s from Houston to Miami. Looking here, though, again, locally across the state, notice where we have the 60s in Rhinelander to the 70s and almost 80s for our forecasted highs today in southwestern portions of the state. You really can define where that front is, where that cold air has been moving in from the north. And while that front is only one of the factors bringing in the cooler air, the second is something we've been dealing with for almost a week and a half now. The lake breeze, that is going to keep things cooler from Door County stretching to Milwaukee and Kenosha counties. Temperatures in the 50s, and we are looking to continue to hang on to that lake breeze. So winds coming out of the east to northeast, which will keep it cooler near the lakeside every day. So over the next couple days, seasonable temperatures, while it may feel cooler, seasonable is what we're going to have. But we are going to start warming things back up again Friday into the weekend, back into that 5 to 15 degree above average category. So above average temperatures favored here across the state of Wisconsin. And we are still looking even extending past that here, May 14th to May 20th of above average temperatures here across the Great Lakes region and heading into portions of the Ohio and Mississippi River valleys. So warmer temperatures are looking to be favored for us here as we head into the month of May, even though we had a cooler April for some. We're going to take a look outside though, because while we again are dealing with a little more cloud cover, at least we're able to see some sunshine and blue skies. Looking at things here though closer to the ground, we're going to also take a look into outer space and what that may mean for us coming up after the break.
Welcome back to Wisconsin Weather Experts on this Wednesday. It is the Wednesday of Air Quality Awareness Week, and I'm sure you've heard about air pollution before, but you know there are different types of pollutants that can impact human beings differently. Meteorologist Lisa Michaels breaks down the details.
There are different air types. Clean air will give us the view of a clear skyline, and dirty air may give us the view of a hazy skyline with a gray to brownish color. But just because we have color or haze in the sky doesn't mean that's the only time we can have pollutants in the air. There are times where you cannot see them. Think of this, for instance. If you're in a car at a stoplight, occasionally you may see a truck or car have exhaust coming out of it, and you may see that discoloration or haze. But other times, if you're in a vehicle, you may not see the exhaust coming out of another car or truck, but you can have it go through your vents and you can smell it. So there are times where our eyes cannot pick up on the pollution that's in the air. There are 5 types of air pollutants, and we're going to cover them here. Ground level ozone is number 1. Particulate matter is number 2. Carbon monoxide is number 3. Sulfur dioxide is number 4. And nitrogen dioxide is number 5. The 2 most common pollutants that we have in our air that really impact us mostly is ground level ozone and particulate matter. That's why the Environmental Protection Agency closely monitors these 2 to give us our air quality index to let us know how polluted our air is. How safe is it to go outside versus on days when we have to stay inside. We're going to talk a little bit more about particulate matter though in this case. So look at this. This is an enlarged human hair. This is an enlarged grain of beach sand. Notice that they are very large in this picture, but to our eye, they are very small. We're zooming this in to give you a better idea of how much particulate matter can fit into a strand of human hair. The first pollutant we're going to take a look at is PM10. Dust, pollen, and mold typically make up this, meaning they have a bigger diameter. We can fit about 5 of these particles within a strand of human hair. That means human hair is about 5 times larger in diameter than dust, pollen, or mold. But we're going to take this even on a smaller microscopic level. We're going to have a diameter of 2.5. That means things such as soot, smoke, dirt. They are even smaller and you can barely see them. But it takes, again, about 4 or 5 of those that could fit into 1 particle of dust, pollen, or mold. Because it's so small, you can't see it, and that's going to make it easier if you breathe it in the air to get into your lungs and harm your body. Put this into perspective though, because we can fit so many particles of this into a strand of hair, hair is about 30 times larger in diameter than the smallest particle of pollution. So we do need to take this seriously, especially on days when we have things such as smoke impacting our air quality or bad ground level ozone. They are things that we may not necessarily see as easily, but they can impact your lungs and impact your body, whether you're in a sensitive group or everyone. Best thing to do, again, is follow your air quality, and especially if we have an air quality alert, your meteorologist will alert you about that to let you know if you need to stay indoors or limit your time outside.
Oh, fascinating stuff. And I'm pretty sure we became very acquainted with PM 2.5 a couple of years ago when it was day after day of wildfire smoke.
Yeah.
You remember that, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
So great way to kind of think about how small that was, yet how massive the impact was across the region.
Yeah, and if you also think about it too, you don't know if it's in the air or not.
Sure.
I mean, it's just so tiny. Same thing as pollen. Sometimes you can go outside and you'll feel fine, and then you might be impacted with those effects the day after. So we really just inform the public of what our air quality is, especially when it is poor. We'll let you know.
All right, we'll keep learning all about our air quality for the next couple of days here during Air Quality Awareness Week, but we're going to go up where there is no air.
Yeah, no air, space.
No, yes.
That's where we're tracking something unusual that may be happening. Now, this video shows back in March of 2025, SpaceX had a launch failure which led to a fiery display of debris barreling over the skies in Florida. Now, we could have another display like this in the coming days, but not from a recently launched spaceship. This will be from a decades-old Soviet spacecraft. According to NASA, the spacecraft right there, which is known as Cosmos 482, it's estimated to re-enter Earth's atmosphere somewhere between today on the 7th through May 13th. The probe's expected to cause a show of lights in the sky, but some pieces may re-enter Earth's atmosphere. The question is can they reach the surface? The mission of this probe initially back in 1972 was to make its way to Venus. So it is equipped with at least a coating or types of I'm trying to think, it's types of material
it's like a heat-resistant
material. Can withstand the heat. So as that re-enters Earth's atmosphere, some of it may burn up and some of it may not. So it's all just going to determine in the days to come as it re-enters Earth's atmosphere. Can it all burn up, or where could it potentially land on Earth?
So they'll be tracking it very, very closely, and you can tell how old it is by the markings on the
Yes,
side.
and the picture.
Haven't used CCCP in a while. It's a long defunct situation there. Yeah, but definitely worth watching. Of course, we'll update you as we learn more about when that might re-enter the atmosphere and where it might re-enter. We'll be back with a lot more to chat about. We're even going to go fishing. Stick around. Welcome back again as we continue with Wisconsin weather experts here on Fox Local and the Fox 6 YouTube channel. We've had a beautiful stretch of weather. We're going to talk about fishing in a bit, but if you've got questions about anything weather-related, space-related, earth science, atmospheric science, any kind of science really, even if we don't necessarily know it, we'll happily dig in and nerd out on it for you and figure out the answers. Just send your questions via the QR code right there, and again, we'll do our best to answer any of them that you might have. Now, I like fishing. I don't have a whole lot of fishing knowledge, but I'll throw a line in the water and just enjoy the zen moment of it all. But if you are an angler, you can grab your minnows, your leeches, your night crawlers, whatever it is you want to fish with. The general inland fishing season began Saturday. If you are 16 and older, though, you will need a fishing license, and you should check the regulations where you're fishing before you go. The DNR makes it pretty easy on their website, actually, for everyone going out there. Hey, good luck.
It's a way of life here in Wisconsin. So they had beautiful weather over the weekend and looking to have a nice stretch heading into this week to get out and do some fishing as well.
When I always took the kids, I just took enough poles for the kids because even if I tried to fish, I was not going to get any fishing done because they'd either get tangled or get a fish on the line.
So your hands are always busy.
So I was just like, I'll deal with this. Yeah. So I went fishing and never actually fished. It was a weird situation. But way down under the water there, you might find a nice little bass or something like that. But I don't think at least in Lake Michigan, you're going to find an underwater volcano.
Probably not.
No.
We're tracking an underwater volcano that's just off the coast of Oregon by about 300 miles, and it could erupt at the end of this year. It may not look much like a volcano, but it is named Axel Seamount. Researchers at the University of Washington are watching for early signs of an eruption like they do for earthquakes. That's typically what can give off a sign of when a volcano may erupt. While it may sound destructive, this volcano's eruption is not going to be dangerous. Rather, it offers more of a scientific expertise for opportunities for scientists to observe it. It would be the first eruption since 2015.
Fascinating. Some interesting
cool
science is going to come out of that. I mean, we wouldn't have Hawaii if it weren't for underwater
That's exactly
volcanoes,
right.
Those are all volcanic islands. And then if we do get enough of a wave going, maybe your dog can hang 12? I don't know how many toes, right? Anyway, the dog surfing championships will indeed happen out in California this year. We'll be watching the weather conditions for that very, very closely. The organizers had to do a little bit of fundraising, though, to get this thing going. World Dog Surfing Championships, they organized a GoFundMe. They needed to raise more than $14,000 because of the costs rising more than 42% in the last year, more than 100% over the last 4 years. So donors jumped in. They wanted their dogs to go for a good surf, so they came to the rescue there. Organizers say the World Dog Surfing Championships are scheduled for August 2nd at Lindemar Beach in Pacifica. Those dogs love it. Look at that.
They better get a big bone if they win that competition. Or maybe, they all get that.
I made it just do it for these dogs seem to love the water for sure.
I've never seen anything like it.
That's awesome, right?
I mean, I've seen a cat go on a kayak.
Really?
I wonder if cats could do that as well.
Cats are not big fans of water, but maybe. I mean, if Twiggy the water skiing squirrel can make a career out of it.
Maybe anyone can.
All right, thanks for joining us here, Wisconsin Weather Experts. We'll see you on the same time tomorrow right here on Fox Local.